in the summer, probably more than it will now. It, again, like you said, trading Miles Turner, looking to trade Miles Turner actually might not be the worst idea this summer, depending on who you could get in return. But that definitely is not a priority, nor should they rush it by completing this trade. By completing it right now. So I give them a B. They stayed pat. They should have stayed pat. They probably will make some noise in the playoffs, but definitely probably not past the second round. So it will not be a huge deal. So they did what they had to do.
Okay, so now we have the LA Clippers, who were pretty active. They traded away Tobias Harris, Boban, and
Mike Scott,
and in return they got two first-round picks, one of them being that unprotected Miami pick, and they also got back Landry Shamet as an asset, and obviously other salary fillers, but I think Landry Shamet's probably the best current player in that deal. I know they also traded away Avery Bradley's contract, and they didn't have to give up much for that.
Man, what a steal! They got two very quality rotational pieces in return for Avery Bradley, and in that deal also they essentially saved $2 million for next season because he had a partially guaranteed contract of $2 million for next season. They traded him away for two purely expiring contracts and two players, and really a contradictory move in terms of because those two rotational pieces will help them win, and by trading Tobias Harris, you obviously put on the facade that you don't want to make the playoffs. You acquire those two rotational pieces, two very solid rotational pieces. They will help you win a game or two or three. Avery Bradley obviously has negative value right now, and they also were able to acquire Ivica Zubac for Mike Muscala, the player they acquired from Philadelphia. So I think that was a very low-key good move for the Clippers. What type of grade did you give them?
I will give them an A.
I'll give them A plus by far. I mean, all three trades they make were terrific trades. I think the Tobias Harris trades, again, I don't know what the story was behind that, but if they felt they weren't going to re-sign him this offseason, or if they feel like that they could get another Tobias Harris type player, at least maybe not the same type of player, but a player just as talented, okay, trade them and get that value. Why not? This puts them in the Anthony Davis race this summer if they want to choose to do so. They have a lot more picks now. They have another young player here. They still have Danilo Gallinari there, so they will have a quality package to offer should they decide to do so when discussing Anthony Davis. And the fact that the Pelicans will be much more likely to trade them to the Clippers than to the Lakers is a bonus for them.
All right, so moving on, we have the other Los Angeles team, the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, obviously, their goal was to get Anthony Davis before other teams can really get involved, and they were unable to do this. For this reason, I'm going to give this a D-. The other argument I'm going to make is I think they kind of handled this situation incorrectly and just, put it all out there. They want to get rid of all these players, the assets that now have to play with LeBron this year. So I'm just going to give it a D-. I don't like how this looked for the Lakers.
I'm giving them a C. I'm not judging them based off this move. This move was not going to happen. The Pelicans weren't going to trade Anthony Davis. It was something. I think the media, especially recently now, the media has been stirring it into something that the Pelicans did this intentionally to the Lakers. I don't think the Pelicans did anything to kind of cause drama within the team there, to really cause the team to self-destruct internally. I don't think the Pelicans really did anything. The Lakers were desperate, and rightfully so. They did everything they should have to try to acquire Anthony Davis the way they should have. I don't think the Pelicans not returning their phone calls means they're stirring up drama within the Lakers internally. I think the media is stirring this into something that it is not. You brought up the fact that the Lakers did not handle this correctly. I mean, no matter what, any type of package they would have offered would have been exposed outside. It would have been exposed to all the fans. This is just too big of a situation for, your Wojs or your Shams not to get some type of information about with everything that happened. So the Lakers were in a bad position right from the start, but it was something that they had to do. And I will give them a C simply based off the moves they made in terms of acquiring Reggie Bullock and Mike Muscala. Well, yes, they will. Those two players will be upgrades for this season. I think trading away an Ivica Zubac and a Svi Mikhailuk, two young players. I'm not saying these guys will be, probably both will be rotational bench pieces, but they'll be a little probably more worthy in a couple years to the Lakers than Mike Muscala and Reggie Bullock. So I don't like those moves simply for the fact that they traded away two nice controllable pieces for the future in exchange to try to win a game or two now. These guys will not help them win more than a couple of games each. So they're average to me. Again, C is what you get from me, Lakers.
All right, the Memphis Grizzlies, who traded away, well, you were right, they were able to trade away Garrett Temple and Michael Green. They also, the big trade they made was they traded away Marc Gasol, and in return they got Jonas Valanciunas back. Who else?
DeLon Wright and CJ Miles.
So to me, when I looked at that, they didn't get any assets back, so I did not like that. I mean, I don't know what the asset market was out there for Marc Gasol, but I would hope you can get at least one asset back when you get three guys who are kind of in the middle of their careers. They're kind of more win-now players, not really, a way to tank it. So I didn't really like that trade. I'm going to give the Memphis Grizzlies a C.
Yeah, they're getting a little bit less than me. They're getting a D plus to a C minus from me. And the reason, like you said, I didn't really dislike the returns they got in this deal. I think yes, they were really close to trading Marc Gasol to Charlotte for a first-round pick, and I guess the thing that messed that trade up was them not being able to agree on protections. But if I were Memphis, I would have done whatever I can to get that first-round pick from Charlotte instead of the package we got from Toronto. I think even if you make that pick top 14 protected over the next 3 years and have it maybe convert to 2 second-round picks, I think that's still more worth it, especially considering the fact that Detroit, Miami got worse. Charlotte would have probably made the playoffs. You still get a 15th or 16th pick. I think that would have been much more worthwhile than the package they got in return. I did not understand one bit that J. Michael Green and Garrett Temple move. I mean, I guess the reason why they made that trade was because they needed to make it to help facilitate the Marc Gasol trade and stay under the luxury tax after that Marc Gasol trade. So that there, in that sense, it makes sense. But in that regards, it makes sense. But I think they could have gotten at least a couple of second-round picks by consolidating those players, and if not, a low first-round pick. So I think they really screwed up by not getting any draft picks. Where I will give them credit is the fact that, like I mentioned earlier, by not trading Mike Conley and by getting the package they got in return for these players, including Avery Bradley, Valanciunas, CJ Miles, and DeLon Wright, albeit those last two, well, actually, all Bradley, Miles, and even DeLon Wright to an extent have all been struggling this season. They are all rotational pieces, and by being able to acquire these players, they will probably, well, not probably, there's still about a 50-50 chance they will end up somewhere in the bottom 9 or 10, but by the 9th or 10th, again, they will be turning that pick over to Boston, which is what they want to do. They want to get rid of that pick to Boston this year and make sure it's not only top 6 protected next year, where they'll probably be a lot worse. They also made a smaller move by trading away Shelvin Mack for Tyler Dorsey. They acquired Tyler Dorsey, who was a little younger player. I'll give them credit for that move. So I'll give them a C- because of the fact that they still will be able to remain competitive enough where they could fork over their pick to Boston this year instead of sometime over the next 2 seasons.
All right, next is Miami Heat, who were able to trade away Tyler Johnson. And in return, I believe they got a Ryan Anderson, who is somebody who also has a lot on his contract, even though it's been made smaller when they traded him away from Houston. I mean, I don't know where I would stand.
Well, hold on. Here's the basis of this deal for each team. Obviously, Phoenix acquires the point guard and Tyler Johnson they've been wanting. He's more talented than Ryan Anderson. He is younger than Ryan Anderson. And they also acquired Wayne Ellington in this deal. And what Miami accomplished here is this helped them, I believe it actually helped them drop underneath the luxury tax because of the fact that even though Tyler Johnson may be just a little more expensive than Ryan Anderson by also trading away Wayne Ellington, they were able to save about $6 million. And for next season, Ryan Anderson's contract is only guaranteed for 15.6, so they will more than likely waive him and save about $5 million because Tyler Johnson would have been worth about $20 million. No guarantees on his contract, so they will save about $5 million for next year, which was, I believe, their main goal here is to save some money because they will be close to the luxury tax again next year.
Well, that being said, it's a smart move, but I don't believe it's anything that deserves higher grade than a C.
I give them a B for it just because even though, like you said, this is not a move that helps their roster, it's a move to help accomplish their goal of saving some money for the luxury tax. The Miami Heat have put themselves in a real bad position. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They're in a real bad position over the next 2 seasons beyond this one. But this was at least a move to help ownership save some money and, potentially start saving up that money for 2 seasons from now when all those bad contracts expire. So it helped them accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. Plus, it makes them worse for this season, which, again, will potentially give them a higher pick. They're another team that might make the playoffs, but what's the point?
All right, now we have the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, they made a trade where they traded earlier, they traded, what's the big man's name?
Thon
McCurr for Stanley Johnson, and then they were able to move Stanley Johnson and another player for Nikola Mirotic. Now, I really like the Nikola Mirotic fit in Milwaukee. I like him as a player, and I like him being, probably the 4th or 5th option on the team. Maybe he'll come off the bench and provide a spark. So I'm going to give this trade an A-.
Yeah, I put them at an A. The trade made sense. It actually ended up being a 3-team trade. The Wednesday afternoon trade of Thon McCurr for Stanley Johnson never was official, so they just turned it into a 3-team trade. They essentially gave up 4 second-round picks, 2 potentially high second-round picks in Washington's 2020 and 2021 second-round picks for Nikola Mirotic. Yes, they also gave up Thon McCurr, and Jason Smith was a salary filler. No big deal there. But, yeah, it's a move that they had to make. Now, unfortunately, I took a look at their salary cap situation for next year. Unless Brook Lopez agrees to, if they want, obviously, Nikola Mirotic is an unrestricted free agent, just like Bledsoe, Middleton, Lopez, and Brogdon, who is actually a restricted free agent. But that essentially gives them 5 of their best 6 players will be free agents next year. And unless Brook Lopez agrees to take the taxpayer mid-level exception, which will be probably at about $5.5 million, it might actually, I haven't taken a look at this yet, but they might actually be able to offer him the full mid-level exception. But it would be really close, which that would be worth about $9 million, which I'm sure he would accept that. But this will make it even harder, obviously, to re-sign all these players next year. But it's a win-now move. And not to mention the fact that New Orleans was negotiating with Philadelphia right before this trade happened to trade Mirotic to Philadelphia for a similar type of package. Milwaukee swooped in and offered more picks. Ultimately got the deal done. Kudos to them for that. They get an A grade in my book.
All right, now we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. From what I'm recalling, they have not made any moves.
Nope.
I don't think they're a team that we're going to spend some time on. I'm going to just give them a C. I don't see what their moves they were able to make.
You get a D+ in my book. I guess you could have traded Gibson, Tolliver, and Derrick Rose. You weren't going to get much in return. No big deal. Move on, I guess.
All right, New Orleans Pelicans. Now, they did make the trade where they did get rid of Nikola Mirotic, which we just talked about, but Julius Randle is still on the books. Obviously, you didn't trade away Anthony Davis, which in my view is the smart move there. I'm going to give the because they didn't give up Julius Randle, who I thought that's a big mistake, I'm going to give them a C.
I'm giving them a B plus. I like the value they